Hello and welcome to special coverage of a special night. It's the Manitoba Derby at Assiniboia Downs. And more than that, we've got some impressive opportunities for horse players. There is a mandatory pick 5 payout and the carryover, $444,576. We might get $2 million bet into this thing. Between new money and that old money. Peter Thomas Fornatal here from the little house on the east side in Saratoga, a couple miles away from Western Canada. But that's where all eyes for horse players are going to be tonight. And joining me to talk about these 5 races, we bring in a man who has been in fuego. He's winning contests. He's hitting picks. He's giving out crazy winners in harness races. He's Mike Pribozie. Mike, what's going on? And don't let anybody touch you. They might get burned.
I'm telling you, PTF, it's quite the heater right now. Able to give out a lot of winners on these podcasts, harness, thoroughbred, winning contest jockey contests. So this is the kind of thing that when you're a horse player, you're living the dream.
Savor the moments, of course, because, it always boomerangs on us. But, hey, when you do the work like you do consistently across our network, you're going to have more good days than bad, or at least the winners are going to pay for the losers. That's the idea. Let's see if we can find some winners, Mike, in this mandatory payout pick 5 with over 400,000 in the pot. We start off with race number 4. This is a $5,500 claiming event, going 7.5 furlongs on the dirt. I'm going to let you answer the first key question. How are we going to light this candle?
Well, Assiniboia Downs, for those who aren't familiar, if you're just looking at this for the mandatory payout type of action, it's a 20-cent pick 5. Starts the last 4 races, and they usually stay on time, so it's going to be 9:50 Eastern. They may drag a little bit tonight for this pick 5 pool. But it starts with an interesting claiming race, and it's 5,500 claimers, 2 turns going 7.5. I'm going to use 3 horses here. The 5 Hot Stove League. If you look at this horse, he classes up with these types. Won a race for 7,500 back on June 25th, dropped to 5,500, which Assiniboia is not the worst thing in the world. I mean, these horses move up and down these class levels, especially these claiming types. This horse was claimed out of that race after a tough trip. I think with a barn that's 41% currently at the meet. So that one should be tough in this race. The 6 also used Side Street Dave, another one that's just been racing at the $7,500 level. So how to win 3 back, has some speed, I think is a use. And then the 7, Senior Jobin, was claimed 2 back from a barn that's going very well, 30% right now. Really had no chance. Was too far back on July 23rd. I think should be closer here, and I think should be able to outkick them. So I'd be 5, 6, 7 to start.
We are singing from the same hymn book as far as the top pick goes here, Mike. I'm with you on Hot Stove League. A couple of extra interesting angles to throw into the conversation. Timeform US had that last race being on a day that favored closers, and this one made a move into a fast pace there. It's definitely an upgrade, especially when you consider how good the form of that race has been. 2 next out winners, 2 next out seconds from, I believe, 7 to return to the races. You mentioned about moving into the high percentage barn. And, one other thing, I really like how often this horse gets claimed. To me, that's just a subtle tout of that this is a horse who's put together well physically, very sound, and has a good attitude if people keep wanting to take from one another. Hot Stove League is my main one. I'll probably listen to you and back up a bit with your 6 and 7. Moving on to race number 5, first of the stakes races we'll be talking about on this show. Fillies and mares in the escape clause. We're going 1 mile here, and we've got a field of 9 signed on. I'll take this one first with a rather obvious observation. If number 4, Spittin' Kitten, runs back to that last race, well, then I think the rest of these are probably running for second. Might have that big pace edge once again, but you can't discuss this race without talking a little bit about Burrow Down. We talk about horses for courses all the time on the In the Money Media Network, but this one might be the ultimate horse for course, the ultimate Assiniboia Downs horse for course that I've ever seen. 25 lifetime starts, 7 wins. All the wins came here. That's right. 7 for 8 at Assiniboia, over 17 everywhere else. It's just incredible. Also notable, though, the lone loss locally did come in this race last year to number 2, Big Stretch, a race where it just looked like a real meltdown. I mean, Burrow Downs subsequently confirmed quality and form by beating that one twice. But for me, as far as a wagering approach here, I'm going to take the 4, Spittin' Kitten. I'm going to try to swerve Burrow down in this spot. I know it's dangerous with all that local success. I may just find a way, a penny, to include the 2, Big Stretch in case it is another meltdown. Perhaps Burrow Down tries the favored 4 runner here and something unexpected happens. Am I looking at this the right way, or do you have some others to bring into the conversation?
I mean, I'd say so. The 4 is very obvious here, especially on figures. 2, almost like a double fig off those last 2 races, 74, 79 buyers in the last 2. While speed, and that's another thing, she's going to control the race. So she has 6 wins and 9 starts also at the racetrack. So that's hard to look past. I do think, though, Burrow Down you have to use. Just loves the track. I think loves the distance. Comes out of a mile and eighth race at Century. The winner came back to win out of that race. So this horse with the outside post probably is going to be a little bit wide, stalking. Hopefully, I would think they were thinking that the favorite could get softened up a little there. So that would be the 2 that I think you need to lean on as an alternative. As a B type, the 1, Damn the Torpedoes, would be the 1 for me here. Is racing well. It's typically a shared type. Buck does have 4 wins over the track. She's a 6-year-old mare. She's faced these horses before, and it has been competitive. You get an inside post, 10-1 morning line, and with the action the other 2 are going to take, I would say that this horse is going to get lost on the board a little bit. And if you get separation in this pick 5, especially with all the dead money in it, it could really lead to a huge payoff. So if you're looking to back up, use 4 and 9 heavy, use the 1 as a beat.
Okay, I respect that idea very much. Let's move on to another stakes race. Race number 6 is the Harvey Warner Manitoba Mile. Field of 9 once again. Mikey P, we'll keep it with you.
I thought this was a tough race. This is definitely, I think, a race you need to cast a wide net in. The 4 Blazing Bow comes off 2 straight wins, but comes from the parking lots. And 2 straight wins from pretty far back off the pace, 1 by a nose, and then last time stepped into a stake and was 12.5 to 1 there. Now, did beat several of these horses. That one's a use, but it could find trouble. Deep closers like that are really tough sells, especially to key around. The 5 Magic Tiger, I think, is one to use here. 5 for 10 at the racetrack. Top barn here. This horse is a little bit off form, but has faced these kinds in the past and is able to win stakes. If you look last year, back in August and September, routed off a couple wins with 2 bigger figs. So this horse finds the form, I think, could be coming back in here, and is definitely a use for me. The 6 is a price here, Brody Streak, one that raced 2 back on June this 26th with an 80 buyer there. Has speed, I think, is going to get the jump on some of these closers here. And sometimes at Assiniboia, that is the ticket to win. And then I'll use the 7 also, Jeff Fafa, another one in form. A speed type, could stalk, stretches out a little here, and that could be a problem. But again, speed types could get the jump on some of these deep closers. I'll use that one also. So 4, 5, 6, 7 and a deep try here.
I get it. This is a race where spreading does make sense. You talked a little bit about the horse that I was the most interested in, who I think is the most interesting to attempt to key around a little bit, and that's the 6 runner, Brody Streak. Had an impossible task last time, I thought, breaking from the outside, the 11 post, attacking a fast pace. That race 2 back gives this one a big chance, especially when you take into account that, once again, Timeform US had that day as a closer's track that might have favored the winner and flattered the winner, Mr. Stang, and worked against Brody's possibilities of winning. So I'm hoping Brody Streak can either sit right off the other speed and then, as you point out, get the jump on the deep closers. I also had the 7 and the 4 in here listed as backups, just with the simple thought of Jeff Fafa potentially being able to be the best speed. And if they go too fast, the late speed of Blazing Bow could come into play. But I'm mostly interested in keying around number 6, Brody Streak, in the Manitoba Mile. More great stuff at Assiniboia on this Monday night. We go to the race that gives the day its name, the Manitoba Derby. This is a very interesting race, but I think the conversation has to start with one key question that I'll ask you, Mike. when it comes to figures and it comes to form, Awesome Road kind of towers over these and should get a good trip. Are you with or against in the Manitoba Derby?
I do think that Awesome Road needs to be used. Just it's so obvious on paper. Racing in 100,000 allowance races at Oaklawn and raced in the Southwest against Mystic Dan. Last year at 2 was in the Breeders' Futurity, the Kentucky Juvenile at Churchill. So much class for this horse. Has been in big hands too. I was in Brad Cox's barn. Diodoro had this horse for a start. So this is a big class drop for this one. The shipping up here, but there are things to maybe call this horse into question. I mean, fresh gelding here has to ship up. Comes from off the pace, so it's not like that. This is a speed type. This is a horse that's going to have to pass horses, and it's a mile and 1/8 here at Assiniboia on that bull ring track. So this is a different, I think, configuration than this horse is used to. So while he does class up here, I do think that there are hurdles that he's going to have to overcome. So not a single way necessarily. I would use the 3 Bricklayer also. Now 5-2 morning line. This horse ships in off a win at Canterbury, going a mile. In a 1X allowance. Now, has certainly gotten much better here. Broke the maiden for 50 at Churchill. Went protected at Canterbury. Now ships up here. Looks solid from a figure standpoint. So, and draws well. I think should be closer than the favorite early. I think could get the jump and maybe prove tough to catch in the stretch. So use that one as a backup here. And I think you can go other different ways. And a horse that doesn't maybe look as fast as some of these is the 4 No Show, No Call. Has been facing Manitoba breds here. Not exactly, this of course is going to be tested for class, but 3 blowout wins in our last 3. 6, 12, 2-length wins at 1-9 odds. Plenty of speed. I think can control the race here, and maybe the stretch out in distance, stretching from 6 furlongs to a mile and 1/8. There are hurdles here, but you got 20-1 morning line. You know this horse is going to be in front. There's no killers chasing this horse, and if you would see this horse's run and its last 3 starts, very easy wins. This horse is in control the whole way around, so it's a test. But 4 for 5 at the racetrack. There's things to like for a horse that you know is going to be on the front here. I do think an interesting backup in the Manitoba Derby.
That's a really compelling case for a 20-1 shot. I think you also lay out the challenges that Awesome Road faces. You know, the more turns, the more those outside posts tend to put me off a little bit. And that could come into play. Look, the horse is still going to be a very strong A for me. Awesome Road, probably still supposed to win. If nothing else, because you look at pace figures, while a closer should be in a good second flight position, might be able to even save a little bit of ground if the race flow goes the right way. The form of the barn is another big positive. You mentioned about the new gelding. There's new surroundings here, but there's just too many arrows pointing straight at Awesome Road for me not to have as a pressed up A. In other words, I love the idea of including some other runners, and on your say so, I'll be having some 3s and 4s on the ticket, but I don't want to have them equally with Awesome Road. For me, if I have a combination for 50 cents or 20 cents, or, you know, if I have a minimum type combo with those runners I see more as backups, I'm going to want to have like a full dollar or more on Awesome Road, just from a betting strategy point of view. That's one thing I might do in this race. How do you see it from a strategy point of view specifically? Are you looking to play these equally, or do you like my idea of maybe messing around with the denomination so you don't end up getting through the race and potentially losing equity on a runner like Awesome Road?
Yeah, I think Bricklayer has an equal chance to win this race as much as Awesome Road. I realize he doesn't have the gaudy type grade 1, grade 2 lines on his card here, but if you look at the 8, I mean, he's 1 for 7 lifetimes. So, I mean, there's not this horse has lost 6 races, and while he does have a class edge, the outside post is really, I think, a detriment, especially given his style. So, whereas the 3, I think, is improving. This could be sort of like a plan all along for this type of horse. 2 straight wins, steps up again, but should be closer. I do think that the 3 should be used equally on these tickets. Now the 4 is more of a long shot. It's more of a, crazy, like, oh, this horse is better than anybody new type of play. And it's more a speed. You know, if the track's playing speedy, this horse may forget to stop, may not be able to get caught, and you're going to get the right price, I think, to use that one. So maybe I don't know that I want that horse used equally to the two favorites. But I do want, like you said, maybe a small combination to the 4 there, just in case he does forget to stop. This is an interesting race because there could be a big separation here, especially if one of the two favorites do not win.
Yeah, definitely a horse that I think needs to be covered based on your say so. There is that big long shot number 4. Kind of a funny name. No Show, No Call. I like it. By Kentucky Bear out of a Going Commando. Damn, just everything about it is entertaining to me.
Great.
We'll see how it plays out in that one. The other concern, I guess, about the 8 is it's not like this horse has been there training, getting to know these unfamiliar circumstances. It sounds like he pretty much just got there. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I can't lose to that one on paper, but I'm much happier with your read of the race in terms of trying to bring a couple of other runners into it. We'll see how it plays out at around 11:10 Eastern tonight. We've got one more race to talk about. It's the pay leg in this mandatory pick 5 payout with over 400,000 added to the pot. An allowance optional claimer, 10,000, 6 furlongs, field of 9. Mike, when it comes to this mandatory payout pick 5, there's really one more key question we have to answer. How are we going to get paid?
Well, if you're alive here, I would like to be alive to 3 horses, and I would have them equally on tickets. The first is the 1 Starship Chewbacca. Now, I liked this horse last time on July 23rd, and the horse raced very well, was game the whole way around the racetrack, showed speed, and kind of was stuck in a duel early, but was very even the whole time. He was trying the whole time. He ended up getting caught late by the 4 Curly Isa. Now, I'm going to use that horse also. I like that race. I like that Curly Isa was able to run the horses down on the front end. That was the horse's first win at the racetrack, but comes from the top barn. I think that those two, given the same effort, should be able to beat most of these horses here. I really don't think that if the same race repeats that they're going to be right there on the wire again. For another horse that I'll use here, it's the 8, Repel It. This horse drops from the optional 15 condition allowance, been facing horses like Totalizer, Blazing Bow. We saw that horse that's entered in the stake earlier. Brody Streak, another one in the stake earlier. So facing tough ones, doesn't win a whole lot, but is a stalker type. And I think the drop should help. The barn's very hot, almost 30% here. Should just be in the right spots. And I just think that this horse needs a perfect trip to win. And 3-1 morning line, I think, is a low morning line. Okay. But the horse is all around it. It could get a little bit of a setup. So I'm going to cover that one also. I think it's 1-4-8 to finish.
We are reading each other's email once again when it comes to this one, at least as far as those first 2 go. Starship Chewbacca put in 2 really nice races in a row, and I thought might be able to get the lead from this inside draw and make the best of it. This horse picks up weight going from the apprentice to one of the leading riders, but maybe this jock can pull out a little bit more in the finish. Starship Chewbacca, not just for Star Wars fans here to close things out. And then I thought, just based on the obvious form handicapping, as you pointed out, Curly Isa makes sense. If I have a horse that I like as much as I like Starship Chewbacca, and there's a horse entered that just beat that one, almost regardless of circumstances, I'm going to want to have that one like at least as a backup to keep myself from, banging my head against the wall if something so obvious happens and the form gets confirmed. So yeah, those are my 2 to close things out, pressing Starship Chewbacca as an A and using the 4 as more of a B. Let's talk about best bet of the races we've talked about. I didn't prep you for this, but I'm pretty sure you can pull it out of your hat. Disappointed it's not a bucket hat, by the way, but that's another story. Your fate of the races we've talked about, which one are you most excited to bet? Do you have a particular horse that you want to shine a light on?
I mean, there's a lot of wide open races, and for a pick 5, especially with this much dead money in it, the key is just to get through it. There's so much extra equity in the bet that to be able to get through it, you're going to get paid. As far as a horse to key on, I don't know that there's a single key necessarily in the race in the entire sequence. I think Starship Chewbacca in the last race would be one that I would want to press up. I really liked his last race. I think that the rail was okay for him. He's speedy, he's game. Doesn't have a win over the racetrack, but I just think that this race sets up for him very well. And if he produces that same effort, I do think that he's going to get to the wire first in that race. But it's a great sequence. And with the 20 cent minimum, you can cover a lot of bases here. If you can catch a long shot, some sort of separators, and there's big fields, there's plenty of reason to go in on this sequence.
Definitely. Brody's Streak would be the one for me that maybe could provide a little bit of that separation if that morning line guess is right. And even if the morning line guess isn't right, maybe some of that value will get preserved in a bet like this pick 5. Take your time and make your tickets carefully on this one, I would say. Really try to make them reflect your opinion. Try to get those horses you like more for more than just that minimum amount. And then maybe cast a wider net, throwing in some of these horses that you just need the one time because they'll provide so much separation themselves. It's going to be fun. Reason to stay up late with our friends at Assiniboia Downs and this giant pick 5 carryover. Great night of racing. It's been a great product. We've been having an absolute blast covering Assiniboia on the In the Money Media Network, hoping that's going to continue. So we'll thank our friends over there for their continued sponsorship. I'll thank you, Mike Pribozie. I feel like I passed a test coming up with enough of the same horses as you. You've been having your nose in this form a little bit more than I have. Really enjoyed getting a chance to chat with you. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatal. May you win all your photos.